Yo, what's going on? Playing the dasp today, and we're running a dasp Alio Rex combo. It's always very important to get the tyrant throw off instantly as soon as you can, which the Rex had a different call but he never used it for some reason. You can see here this Picno trades with me. I land a heavy bait and he landed some knockback, which was honestly a bad trade from him. So my main goal here is to put enough damage on these Picnos to where the Alio can run them down and finish them off, because there's no way a dasp is ever going to be able to catch up with Picnos. But you can see here they're getting stuck a lot and trying to kill the Alio, which they get him pretty low. So at this point right here, the Alio gets very low, so now my main goal now is to try and get the pressure off the Alio as much as I can, which he honestly does not here, and he just goes in and does a really good job of getting this Picno stuck up on the tree. So at this point they bring even more Picnos, as you can see. It was very good to get the drop on someone, and once again this Picno trades a charge for a heavy bait, which is not something that you should be taking, and instantly we get the tyrant sword off. And once again the Rex doesn't use his call, and honestly I felt like, I can't tell if it's the player or maybe the Rex itself, but it didn't feel very useful at all in this fight, because he just couldn't get to the action in time. Now the Picnos are doing a really good job of focusing the Alio. That's really what they should be doing, is trying to get rid of the Alio, because nothing else here can run them down. So if they can get rid of that Alio, they have the potential to kill us and get away. Now you see me going for a lot of heavy bites, and occasionally you will see the Picnos catch me with the knockback, which is mostly based on timing. If you can time it right, it's very good, but if you miss that knockback, you will take a big bite and it will take a lot of your health. Now another thing I would like to say is that tail attack, that charge tail attack on the Picno, I feel like is very useless, because it's just very predictable and you can just wait it out. Now at this point the Picnos are trying to gain some distance between me and the Rex, but it's a little bit too late for that. They've taken so much damage at this point to where the Alio can kind of finish him off. At this point the Alio is on the Picno and the Picno is out of stam, so he decides to put himself against a cliff, and we already predicted that he would try to knock me off with knockback right here. Now you won't really see much of the Rex in this video, it's mostly just me and the Alio fighting. The Rex so far hasn't used his calls, no really helped out, you know, there's not really been a big thing that we've had to fight. But it's very important for the Alio and the dasp to stay together, because of Tyrant's ally gives me 30% armor and the Alio 15%, which can be really big because the Alio is very squishy. In this fight we decided to run two dasps, so we're no longer running the trio and it's just a duo at this point. And the Miragwaya is actually very good because, as you can see, there's a boss here, and passively the Miragwaya puts poison on you and it puts paralysis. Paralysis makes it very difficult to fight Apexes because you get slowed down a bunch, and that tail barrage also does plenty of damage. I would say the only bad thing about the Miragwaya, it's very squishy. It doesn't take a lot to kill it. At this point, Apache comes around, so we put distance on the Anno and the Bosbodia, and we just want to get rid of the Apache because the Bars and the Anno cannot catch up to us, but if we get put low by any of those, the Apache can always come over and finish us, which can be a big problem. Now, we did meet this random Serato, and he's actually doing a really good job of using his taunt, which actually decreases the speed of all enemy dinos within 75 meters by 5%, I think. And it really does make the difference. You do really have to be careful with Annos because they can bone snap you, and if they do that, it's very unlikely that you will survive, especially when there's two Annos. Now, we started leading away this Bosbodia from the Annos because there's no way we could take that fight, but the boss itself isn't really that hard to kill, especially if we play our heavy bites and Tyrant's Roar very well. You also have to be very careful if the Bosbodia is in bipedal stance, because if he's running all the right stuff, he can do a lot of damage. You can see he's not using any AoE attacks, so he definitely doesn't have that one. So we do want to bait out heavy hits, use our heavy bite as much as we can, but we want to be very fast and efficient before the Annos show up, because we don't really have a lot of time to kill this guy. At this point you can see we're starting to get this guy low, and he's a little bit panicking, trying to put himself up against a cliff, but it's really too late for that. He took way too much damage, and now we're going to punish him for that. So in this clip we see a solo Rex and we get a Tyrant's Rod off because that's going to make all the difference. And he does try to put himself up against this tree, which is actually very buggy. Like if you've ever been to SLL and been around those type of trees, they have like invisible barriers that you cannot get through. So also it's really easy to tail ride a Rex because its turn radius isn't very good. It doesn't have stomp, and the only thing it's got going for it is that knockback on the tail. So, and the dasp does really have a great turn radius. Once again, you can see the Serato doing a really great job of using his taunt. For anyone wondering what the Rex could have done better, he should have put himself up near the water because he's taller, so we would swim before he would. Another thing is you can also put yourself against the wall, even though that is like kind of boring stuff, but it's really the best way to deal with you just getting tail ridden because the T-Rex has a horrific turn radius. These raptors show up and they're trying to help the Rex, but they just cannot get it going. Now I do want to talk about the raptors. They're not really that great, even though there's a lot of them. Without the Achillo, like if you run a Achillo build with raptors, they actually do a lot of damage and they shred your health. But without the Achillo build, they're not that good. Also, the build that I'm running, fin scales, they help my bucking. It doubles the stamina, so they can't really stay on for too long. They are doing a lot to the Serato, which we couldn't really do anything about. Another thing that I want to mention is when raptors pounce on you like that, you want to have your friend come close to you and bite the tail of the raptor. Don't be biting your own friend because you're going to do a lot more damage to him than you are to the raptor. Another thing is, I don't really like the Lucky Feathers ability. It's just like a jail out of free card, you know. They get hit by a big bite, they survive, and then they're immune for 10 seconds, which is actually quite a lot of time. Now another thing about raptors is because they are so short, you can just bring them close to water and it doesn't even have to be deep. They will start swimming, and first of all they're horrific swimmers. The stamina drains very fast in the water and it's just a free kill at that point. The hit rate on raptors is also very buggy. You will see there's like times where you're right on a raptor and nothing happens to them. Like, at some point in this video, I heavy bite a raptor right on the head and he just survives it. And it's probably not because of his health, it's more about the hit reg more than anything. Now the reason I say that is because you've seen in the earlier clips I managed to one tap Patches with the heavy bite multiple times. This whole time we've killed quite a good amount of raptors, but they just cannot kill us, they just aren't doing enough damage. We managed to heal. They did bring an Albert at some point and they did manage to kill us, but after these clips my friend got off and there was a server reset. Now in this clip I'm playing with a different friend and we're fighting a Tyranno Titan and a few other things, but we are not running the same build. He's running something a little bit different than me, so we don't have torrential times 2, which is really big. It makes your damage go from 10% when you have it only one person has it to 20% when we both are running it, so it makes all the difference. Now this Titan really should be using his juke a lot more. He's just tail hitting the whole time, which isn't doing that much. You really want to use your juke as much as you can. And as you can see, he goes to the water. Bit late for that again, but my friend got him. I didn't want to chase because I thought I seen something in the water, so yeah. So we started a fight with a Rex and then an Alio showed up, which was his friend. And you can see here I'm trying to cut off this Alio and land a heavy bite, which just barely missed, and yeah. And then all of a sudden they bring a lot more people, which makes this fight a lot harder. The Titan managed to get back. The good thing I will say about the build that I'm using, Finn Suits, is any lighter opponent does 25% less damage, but the only problem is I take 12.5% extra damage from heavier opponents. So what I think is better, because most of the time the only thing that can really chase you down is the lighter opponents, which yeah, maybe besides the aloe could be very problematic, but everything else like the Styrak, Pycnos, Megs, they're just not strong enough to fully kill you, whereas a Rex or anything like that can't catch you. And then obviously you have the double bucking stam, so anything that pounces on you gets taken off quite fast, and then you get that 25% increased health recovery. Right here I took a unnecessary bite, but I thought that my teammate's stamina was low, so I just wanted to take the pressure off of him, but then I turn back and I see he's right at the Rex. It was good to get rid of the stuff, like the lighter stuff that can catch up to you, because once again, it's really the things that can punish you that are the biggest problem. And the Rex really isn't going to be the one punishing you most of the time unless you get stuck on a rock or if you get bone snapped, which at that point you probably did. Now you can see this Rex just running around with his mouth wide open, which I prefer the quick bone snap. I think it's a lot more efficient. I think it's less predictable. We're trying to land our heavy bites. It's just a little bit difficult with this many big things and this baby right here, who is actually can be a problem, especially baby Rexes or baby Titans even, because they do quite a good amount of damage and they have a lot of stamina to keep up with you. You really don't want to be fighting as a baby. It's not a good idea. I see a lot of new people trying to do that. It's not very smart. The Titans are actually very fast. Like, you can see this guy's on my tail for quite some time. Which, yeah, they're very strong and fast for their size. When something's trying to tail raid you, it's actually very good to use your precise turn as a dasp, because it's actually one of the best ones. It's got very fast, precise movement. At this point I started to peel off because I did start to get low, but right before I left I tried to give my teammate Tyrant's Roar just to give him the best chance to survive, and they ended up bringing a Styrac, and luckily my teammate runs Skydiver, which reduces your fall damage by 50%. So he jumped off a cliff and managed to get the Styrac killed and survive. Now, no matter what you are, those heavy bites start to add up and they do a lot of damage. So you can see this guy's getting low. Unless you're playing a nano, which is incredibly hard to kill, and I think personally very unbalanced and just isn't fun to the game. This guy should be using his juke more. The only reason that he wouldn't be using it maybe is because he's out of stamina. Other than that, you really want to be using that juke as much as you can. As you can see, they brought in a kilo and the Styra came back for more. Which, honestly, Styrac is the best 2-slot in the game. It's very strong. Not the best stamina. I would say that's one thing about the Styrac. Stamina's not the best on it. Other than that, really good. My teammate is getting low and I'm trying to keep these guys off, but I don't have a lot of stamina to really keep up with these guys, so I'm just trying my best to do as much as I can. We get on this hill to try and get the jump on these guys, and honestly they overcommitted, and one of them actually gets punished and dies here. But even both, so it was a pretty good play by me and the teammate. In the classic Anno that once again you can't punish, and my teammate ends up dying. At this point I'm trying to watch my stam, because if I'm out and I get bone snapped, that's it, that's over. Like, there's nothing you can do at that point. So trying to get the most distance I can. Once again I try and get the drop on him, and it didn't really work out this time. This Meg did a good job of body blocking me, and I did manage to hide on this rock to lose these guys. Like, the Meg ran right past me, and so does the Anno. Luckily my poison just ran out, so if he had an icon he wouldn't see it anyway. If anyone wondering what I was talking about, it's the fetid scent icon that Megs have. At this point I was trying to get the waystone to get my friend, and I just sent it. Tried to do as much damage, maybe get a kill or two, and I realised that this Styrak was stuck up here unless he jumped off like that. But right after I heard somebody get waystoned, and I took a lot of fall damage here, and that's probably what got me killed. Also, I'm not sure what's up with the audio in this clip, it's very buggy. So we spawned at GOC and found the boss Bodia, and by this time my teammate switched his build about, so we both had Tyrant's Roar ×2, which gives 20% increased damage, which is great. Boss Bodia had a Miraguaya friend, which right here, I don't know why he done that move. Wasn't very smart, he took a lot of damage right there. You really want to play very defensive as a Miraguaya and put as much paralysis as you can, but that guy just was way too aggressive in the start, and that's what got him killed. At this point we were both resting, trying to regain our HP, and I did see that there was a Morga, and I could honestly tell just from him, the way he was just sitting there, and by this walk right here, that for a couple of seconds he is on debuff, and no matter what you get hit by, no matter what dino you are, when you're on debuff you take so much damage. He wasn't there for very long, you can see he's back to normal movement speed. When you're fighting an Amarga or anything really with a strong tail, you want to just use your heavy hits, don't take too much damage, but it's also important to take them out as soon as possible, especially if it's like a bigger group, because time and speed really makes all the difference. So we made our way to SLL and we found a Basbodia and a Iguanodon, and we honestly wanted to What we should have done is focused on the Iguanodon first, because it's the weaker, faster dino compared to the Basbodia, which is a lot stronger, but also just a lot slower. Now he puts himself against a rock, which is a good position for him. You don't really want to face tank Iguanodon. Even like a Rex, when you face tank Iguanodon as a Rex, that Iguanodon can put you down to 30% of your HP. I would say this Basbodia did a great job of being aggressive. Even though Baz isn't a very aggressive dino, he did a great job. And you can see I got stuck on the invisible barrier, which was very annoying. And at this point, the Basbodia is just body blocking me while I'm just stuck in random things. Luckily, the Iguanodon was pretty low, so he didn't chase us, and the Baz just wasn't fast enough. We got our health back and got right back to it. Yeah, the Baz did a good job of popping the call, which increases armor by like 50%, which can make all the difference. I'm not sure if he actually popped that one or if he popped one of the other ones. But if you're the Baz, that's what you want to use, is your armor call, and use your death call before you someone Tyrant's Roar right in front of you. And then this random Spino comes along and weren't too sure if he was going to help us or the Baz, but he ends up going for the Baz, as you're going to see in a few seconds. Here I kind of took a lot of unnecessary damage from the Iguanodon, but we kind of know he's not got too much health left because the Iguanodon's HP regen really isn't that good. The Baz did a pretty good job of protecting this Iguanodon, and honestly they did a pretty good play to get on top of this rock. Probably the best one they could have done. We did kill the Iguanodon, but we did have to heal because we were not going to risk fighting that Baz right on the cliff. And we got our health back, looked around, couldn't find the Baz, but we found this random Styrak that, yeah, pretty unfortunate for him, because it seemed like he was running around for quite a while by now, probably, and did not have full stam, so we decided to chase him. And you can see here he turns around. Definitely low on stam at this point, probably nearly out. Just like I was saying earlier, the weakness of the Styrak is really its stamina. Other than that, it's really strong. Run into 3 Titans and a dasp, and obviously we want to get rid of the dasp first because it's the thing that can punish us. We did have a few random people help us out, which was quite nice. But yeah, main thing, get rid of that dasp, and yeah. Now at some point we get these Titans very low and they just put themselves up against the rock. We end up just safe logging and coming back on patches, and by the time we got back, all 3 Titans were killed by a bunch of Rexes, which I imagine it was all of these guys who just end up switching over. And here's the build that I was using in this video.